Chimamanda Adichie says, to choose to write is to reject silence. More than ever before, the world is giving us the opportunity to express ourselves, regardless of our gender, geographical location, or race. In the last couple of years, we've seen a new wave of writers find solace and offer comfort to others by sharing their stories with their texts. Tonight on Moments, we're going to be talking about all things about writing and the beauty of being a writer. I'm so excited because I've never considered myself to be an author, even though I write a little bit of poetry here and there.
Yes.
A little poetry. And I took a poetry class, and I used to recite poetry when I was at university. But, you know, I always think it's such an amazing feat to write a novel, to write a biography, you know, to put a collection of poems together. I think it takes a lot of work.
Yeah. Welcome back to Moments Nigeria. Today we're talking about Nigerians who are telling it all with books through storytelling. Our guest is Abelloti Bez-Idakula. She is a former banker with a BSc in Politics and International Studies and an MSc in Management. She recently became a writer and is the wife of Nigerian singer Bez-Idakula. So nice to see you, Abelloti.
Hi, ladies. Nice to see you.
So, Abelloti, we have to get into your book, Royalty. It's been heating up social media. I've read a few snippets, and it just seems like something that is a must-read and that many women can actually relate to. So, can you talk to us about what inspired you to write it and, you know, how you were comfortable being so open about your past in the book?
The journey was a whole journey. It came up I probably started writing after my daughter passed in 2015. I think I went on a journey of, okay, so who am I? What do I mean? The pain, the guilt, the shame of, I had to like deal with all of that. And that's where the process of the book started. My journey to overcoming the pain. And I think it was really just a God project as well. It was one of those books where I don't think I would ever have written it if God had not said, write this book. It's such a personal book, but I think more than it being about me, it's about others. Others are dealing with the same things I dealt with, and the goal is for somebody else to see, okay, she overcame that, or she dealt with this and that. I'm not alone. I can overcome it as well. And
that's brilliant. I mean, Tito, you know, I read the book, and for me, there was just so many different moments that were like really gripping. You know, you talk in the book about growing up in a home that you did not always feel loved and you didn't always feel welcome, and having a polygamous family. So can you just talk to us about how that process has been for you, being so honest about people who are still alive that hurt you, and how the reception has been from your family members?
You know, funny enough, I think my family has been more supportive than a lot of people expect. My mom was at the launch and she was later saying, oh, you know, that's a book that somebody will be annoyed with normally, but after going through it, I think it's really important. I'm going to start using it to teach other people. And, you know, my siblings are like, you know, it's your story, it's your truth. And it actually really helped. Like, I talk a lot about my dad as well, and, you know, he had his life going on. And I had to have a conversation with him. This is what the book is. It shines a lot of light on my relationship with you. And he also had to look at himself and go, oh, maybe I could have done things differently. Of course, there are people that are not happy, but it's not really about me anymore. I don't take it personal, and I hope they don't either.
Yeah, so I'd love to know, you know, because of course it's not just you. You have family, you have friends. Did you have to get their permission? Did you advise them that this is what you were doing before? Because you're also sharing their story with the world in an indirect way.
Yeah, I did. I did have to say, guys, I'm writing a book. I apologize if anything in the book offends you.
Oh, so you didn't get permission?
No, I just kind of informed them. I think I actually told them after it was mostly done. Yeah. And I didn't even let them read it before I published it first. Because I didn't want anybody making me change my mind or distracting me. So I just apologized.
Were you ready, though, for the West?
Yeah,
because, you know, these things can go either way.
Left, right. But it was kind of an anticlimax. The worst never actually came. Like, it was quite amazing how much more understanding it was. And I even had a cousin saying to me, you know, we grew up in similar environments, and oh, thanks Tito, because, you know, I have to now deal with certain things with my mom or my parents or other people. So it was...
So they were open-minded about
relatively open-minded.
It's really interesting because I feel like in general in Nigeria we're getting to a place where we're becoming to be more open and honest about the things that we went through, you know, and talking a little bit about, you know, how you went through, you know, sexual abuse, and also talking about, you know, how you dealt with rejection. What's the reception been, and How do you think more people can feel comfortable also talking about those kind of issues?
I think that's even like the first key to overcoming certain issues is the talking. I was watching a show and the girl said she had been sexually abused, and she said, you know, the moment she started saying it, it's like he stopped having as much power over her. And I think it's the same thing for me. Half the time, you're dealing with this thing in your mind. And so for me, what's happened is a lot of people, so many women, especially women, men, some men as well, they message and go, oh, it was like I was reading my story. Thank you for that. Like now I have to deal with my issues. And the more you talk, the more you know there's somebody that also that you can talk to, or someone that's been through it. The quicker the healing process is, the more you can overcome it. It's not you're by yourself dealing with this thing. And I think that's where the power really comes from, the power of speaking and being honest and just bearing it all.
Yeah. So just share with us a bit.
Okay, so my lighthouse started, it's funny because I was here when it started.
Yes, I remember.
And it started when I lost my daughter at birth, and just how I shared that story. And honestly, for me, it was all just God's grace, overcoming that. Like, if I didn't have that, I don't know how I would have overcome it. There are other ways to overcome it, but that's what worked for me. And I realized that from sharing that one testimony on that blog, more people wanted to share their stories. More people wanted to hear other people's stories, and that's where that came from. In terms of my relationship with God, it's a journey. It's a daily process. Right? Like, people always think, oh, you woke up as a perfect Christian, but no, I grew up in a Muslim family, and so getting to know God has been a journey for me. Every time I find something new about Him, to the point of write this crazy story about your life, and I'm like, God, no, but you know, that's the reason why we're here. For me, that's why I'm here. So daily, I just want to build that relationship and show other people that, look, there is hope and God loves you.
I want to take this conversation to the phenomenon of Nigerians telling stories, particularly through books and online as well.
Yeah.
You know, Chimamanda Adichie had the run-in with the journalist who said, well, do they have bookstores in Nigeria? Let's just bring the conversation home, right? Are Nigerians reading less and less, or in your experience, it seems there's more female writers coming up and female stories being told as well? I would think that more Nigerians are reading. What has been your experience? You
know, I was surprised. Nigerians are reading, definitely. Like, I was like, oh, really? This many people are reading, and, you know, people are ordering books. And I think it's so powerful. Like, why not tell your own story? And there's this culture of silence. And I think I've seen women write about divorce or write about having an affair and overcoming that. These are real stories that women deal with every day. And for you to be able to say that, and nobody's holding you back, nobody's saying you're not allowed to anymore, I think it's powerful, and people want to read those stories. The more we say, the more people want to hear about it. So.
Okay, so the book is a must read. We want to interact directly with all the emotions, your journey, your experiences. That's Royalty. It is available. Make sure you check out her website. But 2 lucky viewers are going to get their very own copies of this. There is a giveaway. So make sure you connect with all of our platforms so that you can get the details. But on that note, we are continuing the story of sharing the stories of Nigerian writers. So when we return, we profile our second guest, who's the author of the book Loud Whispers. She's an activist and wife of former governor of Ekiti and Minister of Solid Mineral Development. Make sure you don't move an inch.
Welcome back to Moments Nigeria. Today on the show, we're talking to authors who have in many ways inspired so many people by sharing their life experiences through their books. Our next guest is Bisi Fayemi. She's a feminist, an activist, a writer, and also known for co-founding the African Women's Development Fund, the first Africa-wide grant-making fund. She runs an online community called AboveWhispers.com. She's also the author of the book Loud Whispers, and she's married to the Minister of Solid Minerals Development. We spoke to her right here. Take a look.
Our girls now wear Spanx to school. Not 1, but 2, even 3 pairs of Spanx. It is not that they are fat. Their tummies are still flat. Chinua Achebe told us that ever since men learned to shoot without missing, Eneke the bird learned how to fly without perching.
All right, we're now here with Bisi Adeleye-Fayemi. I feel like I should call you Irilu because that's what I know to call you as. How are you doing?
I'm well, thank you, Bonanle.
Thank you so much for sitting down to talk to us about your book, Loud Whispers. You know, today on the show, we're talking about Nigerians telling it all through books. And in so many ways, yours is a series of essays that you put together, but also anecdotes about a lot of the experiences that you've been through. So please tell me what, inspired you to put it together in one volume.
Right, thank you. Well, Loud Whispers is a collection of articles that I write every week for my column Loud Whispers on my website Above Whispers. I started Above Whispers in February 2016, mainly because I was concerned that a lot of the content I was seeing on social media did not speak to the issues that would interest someone like me, a middle-aged feminist. A lot of my peers are not active online. That space seems to have been ceded to young people, and that's okay. But I realized that a lot of the discussions that should interest women are mainly to do with lifestyle and entertainment and some gossip, which again is okay. But I wanted to address other issues as well, like a feminist perspective on politics, on the economy, on things that are going around society. So that's why I launched Above Whispers, and I started writing my weekly column, Loud Whispers. Yeah. And so this book, Loud Whispers, is a collection of those essays which speak to a range of issues, politics, religion, relationships, intergenerational concerns, that I thought I'd like to say something about.
I think there is a culture that's coming back, and there's a lot of book points in this book that you put in that for me really, really touched my heart. And there's one that I really want to talk about really quick, specifically Our Girls Now Wear Spanx to School. And that was an essay that talked about gender violence. Yes. And right here in Lagos, right here, just in Ikoyi, where young women are being raped by their fellow classmates in daylight. Yeah. I mean, when you first heard the story and read the article and you put it into prose form, what were you hoping to come out? What were you hoping that people would leave with when they read that prose?
Yes, well, I wrote that as what is known as prosody, which is a combination of prose and poetry. Okay. When I first read the account of Michelle Matthews on WhatsApp, I thought it was fake news because we get a lot of that. But then when it was found out that it did happen in broad daylight on the streets of Lagos, a group of girls going back home from school last day of term, and these boys were attacking them in broad daylight. And it's not as if it was bad enough that the boys were attacking their classmates, ripping their blouses open and tearing their skirts off. There were other people standing by, watching what was happening, not intervening, and actually taking photographs or recording. I found that there are no words to describe that. And I was so outraged. And I think I poured a lot of that into what I wrote. I didn't even have the words to put it in prose form, so I suppose it's prosody that occurred to me. Yeah. That's a sad narrative.
I mean, that's why, for me, I feel like it's so important that we continue to have books like this that are published that are talking about the actual issues that are at hand. Thank you so much for putting this together. I really, really enjoyed it, and I want to encourage our viewers at home to definitely get a copy. Is there going to be a follow-up to this?
Yes. Absolutely, because I'm still writing Loud Whispers. So if people want to know what I've been talking about lately, they can go to abovewhispers.com, and Loud Whispers is up there every Monday. And then maybe in another year or two, there'll be another publication, which is a compilation of other things that I've been writing about. That's
awesome. Thank you so much, Mar, for taking time to speak with us.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you so much. And make sure that you grab a copy. If you are interested in finding out where the copies are, they're scrolling across the screen right now. Guys, this is Moments. We're going to go back to the studio. Wow, I mean, Bisi Fayemi is always so inspiring to speak to. She really is an Amazon of a woman. Well, we took to the streets to ask people if they would share their life experiences in a novel. Would they tell it all? Here's what they had to say.
I think I can put my life experience in a book, and why? Because I think it's knowledge passed. It helps someone else to learn from it.
At some point in my life, depending on the kind of achievements I've built for myself, I could put it down in a book so other people will learn from my experiences.
At this stage of our life, I think it's personal enough to be, so the answer is no.
I think your story has to be interesting enough for other people to want to hear. That's why people write autobiographies, At some point, if I don't put it in a book for people to hear, my kids need to hear it. They need to understand my come-up story, where I came from, and how I got to where I am. So yes.
I can be able to advise other people that are below me so that they can learn from my own little experiences about life.
I feel like there's a lot I've learned so far that I think that people would learn from, and it'll be a good book.